PartinG 경기장 도시형.
All right, so here we are, guys, down at the bottom left-hand corner of Darkness Falls, our red Protoss player hailing from Team StarTale. It is the Code S Protoss player, PartinG. And his opponent, down here at the bottom right-hand corner, that is our blue Protoss player, who's now taken 2 games in a row from StarTale. It's ZeNEXplosion.
Yep, and as we saw from the ID, PartinG did used to be on FOU before he joined StarTale. It was a while ago. But now he is a successful Code S Protoss player. But will he be successful in the Team League is a completely different situation, really.
Yeah, that's a very good question, as a matter of fact. We know he's a very, very good individual one-on-one player, and you know, StarTale's starting to look a little bit stronger. I think people generally think the outlook for them is getting a little bit better right now, as they're starting to get some more players involved into Code A and Code S and such. But
yeah, it's really their newer players that are more exciting right now on StarTale than I think some of the old standards. I mean,
yeah,
as much as we love like Bomber and July and all those guys, they just have not been doing quite as well lately.
Right.
So it's cool to see some of the younger guys coming up. You know, Curious, I like to mention. Of course, PartinG here, and some of the other ones too. I mean, StarTale Ace has actually been playing a little bit better excuse me, lately.
Wow. Fine. But, yeah, you know, I still hold a special place in my heart for Bomber. I still love watching his stream on a regular basis. I think as far as someone who's willing to take risks in just general ladder play and things like that, he's an incredibly entertaining streamer to watch. But
yeah, it's cool.
Nonetheless, maybe we'll see him in this match. It all depends on how his teammate PartinG does first. So... And it is a PvP,
mirror
of course,
match.
guys. Yeah, mirror matchup. Look at that. Exact
Yep,
same
look at that.
times for everything. We're just waiting to see how much Chrono Boost will be saved up, how quickly we get a second gas, those sorts of things.
Yeah, well, Protoss players have been really liking to do 3-gate builds. You know, 3-gate Blink, 3-gate Robo, 3-gate Expand. So there's a lot of different options in PvP. We are long, long past the days that everyone just 4-gated each other, thankfully. And now PvP has turned into quite the interesting matchup. There was a cool build that, I forget who did it. It was the first round of the GSTL. It was just last night. And for some reason, I'm just drawing a blank. But they actually went 2 gateways before their Cybercore and pressured with 2 early Stalkers that they just pumped out right away. And I don't know really how I feel about that yet, but it was an interesting way to get those 2 early Stalkers out. So
sure.
Kind of curious. I kind of want to see that in a few more games and maybe mess around with it just to kind of see how all the timings work out. But my point is that there's a lot of variation in PvP right now, a lot of experimentation going on.
That's very true, but it looks like these players are still drawing themselves even, well, quite a bit, as a matter of fact. As
1 gas for Explosion, though, and 2 gas for PartinG.
Yeah, it looks like the only difference is that there is a Zealot out for PartinG right now, but that's about the only thing at the moment. So... Let's see here. I'm sorry, did I say PartinG? I meant Explosion. I apologize. But so a Zealot out for Explosion. Thanks, I appreciate it. But yes, no gas at the moment, though.
Yep, not quite yet, just 2 gates. And so he could go into a couple different things with this. I mean, he could be a 3-gate expand. He could actually add on 2 more gates and 4-gate. Why not? That's probably a little bit less likely, but he's got the possibility. Only 2 gates for our red Protoss player as well, too.
Yep.
So he could be planning on expanding, too. I mean, there are some 2-gate expand builds that some people have been trying out in PvP. Sase is actually one of the players that has been nice enough to actually give me some replays of him doing that.
So just really delayed second gas, though, for ZeNEXplosion at the moment, as that is now
there it is. Yeah, second
on
gas.
its way.
Okay.
Yeah, it just took a while for that to get down there. But
well, let's see. He's up to around the amount of minerals he would use to expand, so that probably is the reason for the delayed gas. Wanting to get those sooner and be able to afford those early Stalkers as well. I can see that as being a reason.
And he's got quite a few built-up resources. I'm wondering why for the delay right now, it looks like he's investing in 2 more Stalkers up at the front.
Oh, he's just actually going to pressure with that.
Yeah, okay. It looks like PartinG's actually going after a Robo at the same time. He does have 1 sentry just finished up, though. He may be able to catch some units. No, preferring rather just to trap them at the moment than try and go trap some of them. So
Explosion NL getting a little bit lucky that he didn't lose a couple of units there as they tried to come up the ramp.
Right.
It was an Explosion. My apologies here.
ZeNEXplosion does end up losing his Zealot up at the front, though. Looks like defensive sentries now the order of the day, and of course if ZeNEXplosion goes back home for any length of time, which it looks like he is, to go ahead and establish a robotics facility and a Twilight Council up in the back. And we just saw a little red ring there, so that was clicked on by PartinG.
Yep. Now the interesting thing with PvP is that you know, everyone knows like, well, 4-gate is the strongest, right? But if your opponent goes 2-gate and you go 2-gate aggressively, you can essentially get a similar situation, you know, where you can just edge them out in units, and if you have, you know, like one more stalker than they do and you micro well, you can do a lot of damage early on. So that's why we see these players doing these pushes with like 2 gates and 3 gates. You know, in the past it'd be laughable to see something like that, but if your opponent's only getting that many gateways, you can certainly decide to do something like that too.
And looks like that's just the case here, but we do have a 3rd gate being thrown in now for ZeNEXplosion, so a little bit later move to the 3-gate Robo with Twilight Council for Blink.
Yep.
And it looks like he's throwing in some Immortals as well, so there'll be this time where PartinG is not going to have as many units out on the field due to the Nexus and the investment in it right now. And we'll see if ZeNEXplosion can take advantage of that, because, of course, if he sits idle for a while... Oh, it looks like he's actually just going to expand himself, but quite a bit later than his opponent.
This is really interesting that players feel safe doing these types of things nowadays. I mean, obviously he knows his opponent is expanding too, but it's interesting. I mean, just going through the period of time where like expanding was death in PvP, to see people just kind of spontaneously almost deciding to expand here. It's cool to see. I love to see matchups evolve in StarCraft 2, and that's definitely what we're seeing in PvP a lot more than other matchups right now.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that assessment. Just really mirror matchups in general, although TvT to a little bit less degree. But yeah, this has been a pretty exciting development, and it looks like we are in store for a little bit longer game right now. Blink is about to finish up for ZeNEXplosion, and he is comfortably sitting on 3-gate Robo at the moment, which is actually, excuse me, I'm sorry, precisely what his opponent has coming up as well.
So, we're at a standoff. 61 supply to 61 supply.
Yes,
Twilight Council starting now for PartinG. He's going to be getting his Blink a little bit later. A little bit of pressure coming on from Explosion, or just Plosion, if you don't want to say his team name.
Plosion.
Plosion.
That makes me giggle.
Yep.
We do have a Twilight Council now coming up for PartinG as well, so we'll be moving into Blink, presumably here in just a second, but of course he is going to have pretty good Immortal count. And an Observer floating around here, and it may decide to blink up around PartinG's units.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be the best idea for Explosion to do right now.
Right. Oh, maybe going to try and move in, pick off a pylon or two, and drop back off into the low ground. Now, looks like he takes, or just take one shot at a Zealot and back away as quick as
like,
humanly
what was that?
possible. Hey, hey,
shield,
hey!
where'd my shields go, man?
You. Anyway.
All right, there's Blink.
Yep. A lot of units back at home as well for ZeNEXplosion, so he doesn't want to make a frontal assault here. He just wants to be annoying.
Do you guys feel something?
Ow, that really stings.
There we go. All right, he can still blink back. He does manage to pick off a Zealot.
Yep.
Doesn't want to get in there with those Immortals ready to fire at him. That is quite a few Immortals, too. I mean, 3 Immortals is definitely something to worry about if you're trying to attack with an only Stalker army. ZeNEXplosion is definitely more of an aggressive player. We've seen this from his games in Code A and things like that. He likes to be the aggressor. He likes to kind of try to control the pace of the game. You can see him adding on a lot more gateways there as well in that robotic space, so he's not going to stop anytime soon here. No. Oh, that was close.
Yeah, it was, man. And just waiting for those sentries to react and slam down some force fields. But no, doesn't happen quite yet. Let's see here. 2 more gateways coming up now for PartinG as well. So he's a little bit behind on those upgrades, but he's been able to invest in units a little bit more. Doesn't actually kill the Observer. Now, finally, the Observer says, no, it's okay. Oh, Stalker's coming in through the front, though. That Immortal really has to watch out. Looks like a few units getting trapped in. ZeNEXplosion going to blink away. He loses 2 Stalkers to his opponent's 1, so not coming out very well in that trade.
That's kind of what happens if you try to be a little bit overly aggressive in PvP. I mean, it is good to look for those little chances to get in and snipe units, but you also have to be very, very careful about it. Otherwise, you will end up coming out on the losing side from that. Yeah,
and it looks like PartinG does pick up on the pylon sitting here on the high ground. Gonna knock that out. And has a nice little advantage in this game. He is down in Worker, so that's a little bit up in Army at the moment. And his upgrades are finishing nicely, whereas ZeNEXplosion, of course, is just waiting for Colossus and Colossus range to pop up.
Yeah, this is actually a ludicrously strong army coming across the map right now for StarTale PartinG. It's going to be very difficult for ZeNEXplosion to stop. Never mind, he's got 4 Immortals. I was kind of watching other things other than the production queue for him.
Has been building up quite a bit as well,
things are pretty even in with his first Colossus coming out. This army, while powerful, may not be powerful enough.
Oh, it looks like he's going to blink onto the high ground. Yeah, hasn't taken out a pylon quite yet. I'm sure that'll go down here momentarily.
Supply blocks him at least.
Yes, maybe 2 of them, as a matter of fact. 2 of them fall. We're going to see if he tries to do any other damage right here. Looks like he needs to make his way out in just a second, but no, he is just playing with fire for so long.
Yeah, pretty badly supply blocking his opponent, trying to get the edge there, and some defensive force fields coming down for Explosion.
Yeah.
Looks like he's going to blink up again.
That could have been very, very bad there for Explosion, as that Colossus was very nearly picked off. Looks like we do have an Observer in the back. A couple of pylons are going to go down, continuing to supply block his opponent. We'll see if those actually get canceled or just killed. Looks like they may be killed. Oh, blinking directly on top of the army. Tries to pick off an Immortal and then going right after Stalkers thereafter. Let's see what he does with the rest of his army, as a matter of fact. He's going to need to get away unless, once again, he is just going to continue to play with fire. Looks like he's actually expanding at the moment as he goes through the front with the rest of his army.
Yep, he manages to get in the front, and now everything else can just blink in here. So the Natural in big, big danger for Explosion here.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so, as a matter of fact, and he's going to be on 3 base versus his opponent's 1 if he is able to take out that Nexus. Guardian Shield's going down for both players. These Colossi sitting in the back and actually racking up damage. Now we have Zealots closing for ZeNEXplosion, which is going to nullify a lot of the effect of the Immortals, and it does look like slowly but surely that ZeNEXplosion is able to start holding this off, but did come at a pretty big loss.
Yeah, the Colossi certainly helped quite a bit, but there's so many Blink Stalkers, and these target firing things looks like it's just not going to be quite enough. Runs away after killing that last Immortal here, and the Nexus does survive, but just a really close engagement here. I mean, that was one that could have really gone either way.
And we do have 3 base parting up at the moment now, as he is continuing to move ahead in economy. He's up by 10 workers right now, adding in an additional 3 gateways. So quite a macro PvP on our hands at the moment, and not just macro in the sense of like 2 base who can build the most Colossus.
Well, I really love how PartinG is playing this, just getting in there, being aggressive, doing whatever damage he can, picking off another pylon and getting away. He's losing like a Stalker or 2 each time, but if he can keep ZeNEXplosion in his base long enough for his 3rd Nexus to really kind of swing into full gear, then it won't matter if he's lost a couple of units, because he's just going to be so far ahead.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, this is about that time of the game when Protoss players start mining out of their main, then they have way too many probes sitting on one expansion in general. So PartinG's doing a nice job of staying ahead of the game economically, and looks like he is down in that Colossus count. I mean, that's is the supply difference. There's 3 Colossi up for Explosion and nothing.
Well, he did also lose his Immortals too. He's actually going for Templar, but yeah, if Explosion decides to just push out with that many Colossi, you know, that'd be a pretty strong push to bring against an Explosion, or against PartinG rather, right now too. So PartinG does need to kind of keep him in his base, but it looks like both of these guys just kind of content to sit back and actually macro, neither one feeling they have a big enough lead to attack, and I like that. I like the patience by both of these guys.
Wow, we actually have a 2nd robotics facility down for ZeNEXplosion as well, so he is double producing Colossi at the moment. Of course, that's pretty much all he's producing, so he is falling a little bit behind in supply, but of course his army is just devastatingly strong in a frontline engagement. Now, for PartinG, well, it looks like he's going to have to deflect DTs coming up for ZeNEXplosion, but he is way ahead in upgrades. If you actually see here, he's about to finish up 2-2, and his opponent is +1 armor done. No, that's actually his first upgrade, that +1 weapons, and it is a long way from finishing.
Yeah, now it looks like ZeNEXplosion is going to try to rely on Archons for his AoE here, and he's getting those upgrades to make them just that much stronger. He is adding that robotics bay now. No, I'm sorry, that was actually PartinG adding the robotics bay.
Yes.
So he'll be the one kind of going into Colossi here, using the ones right now, using the Archons right now for DPS.
Yeah, no, he's just going ahead and making sure that he has something that can equalize these Colossi that are out for ZeNEXplosion at the moment. So, but of course, again, the damage that the sheer amount of damage that Colossi can get out is actually pretty staggering. We do have Colossus number 6 on the way, along with presumably a few DTs here in just a second. But both players are securely on 3 base. Another blink in here to the Natural.
Yep, he's going to kill a couple probes and then blink out as soon as he can. I just realized why I'm getting these guys messed up, because ZeNEXplosion had red last time and now it's blue. That's what, I'm like, why am I getting these 2 players messed up like this?
It happens.
Now I know. Okay, yeah.
All right.
The Colossus count is so high right now for ZeNEXplosion, too. It's going to be really tough for PartinG to catch up with this.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned earlier, though, his upgrades are going to be the one thing that's going to kind of keep him in the game right now.
That's what I'm thinking, mostly due to the fact, wow, as one DT reveals itself directly on top of an Observer. Not exactly the way you want to reveal those. But, yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is that even if PartinG ends up having an inferior Colossus count in the short term, as he is producing quite a few double at a time right now, as a matter of fact, they're going to be so much farther upgraded than his opponents that they're going to be able to dish out damage way faster.
Speaking of dishing out damage, that DT there for ZeNEXplosion, dishing out a little bit of damage there, drawing the army of Parting a little bit up the map. This is just the craziest PvP, man.
I know.
Getting to 4 bases here for
I like it, though. It makes me happy.
Parting. Yeah, it's cool. It's kind of the new face of PvP. I mean, you see a lot of this now.
I am totally good with
Usually
that.
not quite this much,
like
but
this. Yeah, no, not usually to this degree, where we're moving on 4 base versus 3 base right now. DT going to make its way through here. Get a pretty good scout on his opponent's army, but there's an observer hanging overhead, so that DT looks like he is able to slip away.
Oh,
no!
Tried to block it with the Zealots or the Stalkers there. Didn't quite work.
All right, so let's see here now. 153 supply to 182 at the moment.
What is the Colossus count for each of these guys right now?
8
it is 8
to
2. All right, but there are some Archons out, and again, the upgrades. 0-1 for Explosion and Parting in the meantime.
Yes.
On let's see, looks like he's going to be getting is that 3 + 3 armor there?
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's +3 armor with +1 shields coming up, whereas just +1 +2 now coming up for Parting. So yes, he does have a staggering number of Colossi sitting out there, but his opponent, even though he's only on 3 or 4 at the moment, they are just enormously strong. So we're going to see if that's going to make a difference.
Heavy though.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, Parting is very zealot heavy with this composition. Wow. So even if he does decide to attack here, it might be something he'll need to kind of worry about a little bit. So I don't know.
All right. Well, let's see what's going to be the end result as both these players. Well, actually, Parting is now maxed on 4 base.
I'm having the weirdest feeling of deja vu right now.
Really?
I feel like I've seen this game before. I don't know why.
Interesting. So that's kind of odd. Certainly new to me. So let's see here now as Parting with a lot of units up at the moment, but like you said, pretty zealot heavy, so they can get torn up by Colossi pretty quickly if they would find themselves trapped right underneath. And, oh wow, a Fleet Beacon now coming up along with a Dark Shrine for Parting himself. So we are going to move to massive, massive late game tech here. We may see Mass Colossi versus Mothership or something along those lines.
I think I saw one like this on Calm Before the Storm once. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but here we go. Colossus on the high ground. It's a good start there for Explosion, but Parting answering with his own here. The Archons can soak a lot of damage. Here we go.
Uh-oh, and it looks like Parting knows that he can't quite engage this. Just the sheer number of Colossi, even as upgraded as they were, is just enough to drive Parting back at the moment. He is on significantly more workers than his opponent, though, and of course got that, well, it's soon not to be an additional base. Uh-oh, we're going to see if ZeNEXplosion has enough to just start crushing through this. He has his own Archons in the mix, as you mentioned. Colossi are so good, and it looks like they're just going to make their way through the front line. But however, looks like all of the defenses around the Colossi have actually gone away. So we're going to see if Parting can move through and start taking out a couple of them, which it looks like he can, but he's going to get his own Colossi killed in the process.
Yeah, it's just kind of a game of numbers right now, and Explosion is certainly winning it. He's got the higher Colossus count. These Zealots having their own little fight over on their own little corner of the map.
Yeah. Let's see here. We actually have a lot of DTs up for each player.
When it comes down to it, the supplies are pretty even. And look at that. That's really, well, the DTs are going to kill some Colossi. That's kind of entertaining. But
yeah,
I like where Explosion's 4th base is. It's just right outside the natural of Parting. That's kind of entertaining here, or the 3rd base, rather.
Yeah, that's just sitting like that's within range of the Stargate, actually. So
yep. I don't think that base is going to last very long.
Oh, it looks like Parting's going to try and punish that. May force ZeNEXplosion's hand.
Yep, and ZeNEXplosion has the bigger army right now, but some of those Colossi have taken quite a bit of damage, too, so they will be a little bit less effective.
This is just a ridiculous game, actually.
Yeah, this is actually a crazy PvP.
Yeah, this is one of the most insane PvPs I've ever seen. So
we're definitely getting into uncharted territory as far as what we've seen in games before. I'm just kind of waiting for what comes out of that Fleet Beacon, man. I mean, what is he going to use that for? Is there going to be a mothership soon? I mean,
is he going to see carriers?
Carriers, yeah.
Yeah, well,
I don't
carriers only if he wants
Probably
to lose.
Not carriers.
But as you like to point out, and I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
All right, 4 base on 4 base. We have pylons everywhere for Parting. He does have pretty complete map control. Oh, it looks like he snuck some DTs in as well. How many workers kill for both players? Parting just killed 21, but it looks like that worker difference pretty much the same.
Same amount of Colossi for both of these guys right now. Yep, there's the mothership coming out for StarTale Parting. what he
Yeah.
plans on using that for in a PvP remains to be seen, but
And-
the big fight right now.
Yeah, let's see if ZeNEXplosion can stand in here and just deal out his damage. He has a couple of upgrades behind now, so his opponent's
Yeah.
Archons are much stronger, but it looks like he killed everything that was in front of the Colossi, and he's going to start slowly pushing his way out. However, I think he just conceded the Colossus advantage. Yes, he did, to PartinG, and PartinG now with a slightly larger army, and of course Mama Ship is on the way.
Yep, those Zelts are going to soak a couple Colossi volleys, and that's going to let StarTale PartinG get in there and do his own.
Oh,
and
wow.
that is going to be huge for PartinG. He is now 40 supply ahead. GGO coming out from ZeNEXplosion,
Wow.
and wow, what a crazy PvP.
That's... I don't even know what to say about that game. That game just got kind of crazy.